And I know it's him, drawing me out again. And I think, am I that predictable? I'm tired. I've been fighting this guy for nearly 12 hours straight. I haven't had anything to eat or drink. And he's not even tired, but I am. I'm hurt, and I'm tired, and I want to go home, and I want to sleep, and I don't want to be here, and I think... Can I let this one go? Can I let it be someone else's problem? Just for a minute? So I can rest? No, I can't. But I wish I could. God, but I wish I could.
Hello YouTube. I haven't really in-depthly gone over any comic book character, so with all the controversy that Death Battle started with Deku's versus Miles, I think it's needed for someone to set the record straight. Now yes, I will briefly go over how hard Spider-Man can hit, because I think power scaling is an important thing to a narrative of a character and or their story. However, I mainly want this to be an explanation on where and why Spider-Man is in the pecking order in Marvel's mythos. Anyway, let's get into it. So diving into this video, we need to explain what a street tier is. By Marvel standards, they're typically near peak human to even superhuman beings that operate within urban, specific cities, and due to this, they mainly fight your local gangs, crime lords, or even their own rogues gallery, hence the name street tier. However, with being a street tier, there is a certain limit or cap to their power. This is mostly due to what they go up against and the context of their stories. Now, by definition, Spider-Man would fall into this category as he is your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. However, in title, he may be a street tier, his power is a different story. Though I do think I should establish a general consensus for the street tiers and what power level is expected of them. So just Deadpool being thrown to a massive asteroid that explodes from his impact, which gets close to 200 tons of TNT, and he's just completely unscathed to the point even his suit isn't damaged. So you can't really argue his regeneration is a factor, as well as Wolverine, as he was punched to Kansas within a minute, which gets a little over 300 tons worth of TNT. All of a consistent matter of multi-city block tier, and Spider-Man just consistently rocks their shit. Like, it's so bad that he can unironically swat Wolverine away while fighting off other stronger members of the X-Men. And if he really wanted to, he could just knock him out. The same is to be said with Deadpool. This notion of Spider-Man being blatantly above these fellow street tiers is quite consistent, as a pissed off Pete can no-diff Captain America, with it also being confirmed around this time period in a Captain America comic that even he himself admits inferiority to Spidey. The same can be said with Black Panther, as he can bully him while Hawkeye, the greatest marksman in the Marvel universe, is as well as shooting at him. As well being confirmed in the late 90s as Spider-Man was just overall greater than T'Challa in every physical way. With the higher ends of the street tier just truly showing how much of a monsters they are, like how Luke Cage can take a nuclear strike and come out fine, or how the more impressive Iron Fist, even as far back as the 70s, can fight and tank Radion's full power blast. Radion in said issue is confirmed to have the power equivalent to a hydrogen bomb, which unlike in our real life standard, in Marvel's universe the hydrogen bomb actually produced hundreds of megatons of force, and Iron Fist can just walk it off. For reference, 100 megatons alone is able to wipe mountains off the face of the earth, and Danny can not only endure, but be throwing out blows that could pack more than double that force. This isn't even inconsistent, as in more recent showings, he's able to evenly clash with an electromagnetic generating train, but packed enough explosive to make Hiroshima look like a sparkler, and again, he came out unscathed. Now, doing the actual math for this, just assuming a sparkler has a singular pound worth of TNT, which is extremely disingenuous to say, as a sparkler typically doesn't even weigh a pound, let alone the explosive power is little to non-existent, but I digress. And comparing that to the bomb that hit Hiroshima, we find that this train had 30 million times more the power than the little boy bomb. Or Iron Fist can hit with 450 gigatons of force. And yes, before anyone asks, Spider-Man is not only stronger than Iron Fist via Danny's own admission, and just comparing how Wolverine typically is portrayed as stronger, if not at best equal to Danny, and we've already established how much Spider-Man just owns Logan. And before anyone says this is an outlier or it's not consistent, Iron Fist again in the 70s can fight and break Iron Man's older models. Said models can tank being struck with enough force to shake the entirety of California 7,000 miles away, which again, said calculations have estimated said feat would need 254 gigatons to produce. I think I've done a good job, at the very least, proving why Marvel's street tiers aren't some building level fodder. However, I haven't necessarily proven why, at least in my opinion, Spider-Man is just beyond the street level, as he can be the strongest street tier, but can end up losing against the weakest Herald. However, if you want to believe it or not, Spidey is just consistently in those Herald tiers of power. For this portion of the video, there'll be a lot of scans being thrown up, and I really don't have a coherent way to make it look good, so please just bear with me. He consistently scales to a casual classic Hulk, with Hulk even regarding him as strong and one of the many beings that can hurt him, as well as to a casual classic Silver Surfer, even to Miss Marvel, also to a classic casual Thing. He can even tank a beating from a more modern Thing and Miss Marvel at the same time. And probably the most damning piece of evidence is how Spider-Man with no enhancements or prep just beat the ever-living shit out of a previous Herald of Galactus, that being Firelord. Something to note, however, Firelord does not scale to his successor in his full extent, as not only does the Silver Surfer note how he is Galactus' ultimate champion, but as well as the server admits he could absorb an infinite amount of Firelord's power with no problem. Now, I will say, despite what I've shown, there will be people that will say all these feats are outliers, even though a good chunk of these feats are written few to far between each other, showing a narrative consistency. Hell, even though Spider-Man has only beaten Firelord the one time, it's still called back to as early as 2018. Also, a little known fact, as far back as the 80s, Marvel released a guide showing the pecking order of the mainline heroes and what category they are in, and Spider-Man, even though the weakest, was still in the tier of the Heralds, just a few spots below the Silver Surfer unironically. However, where people get caught up on is how Marvel characters can get stronger. Like, if you truly believe Spider-Man is as strong as he was in his teenager self 60 years ago, despite all the amps and better showings he has, I honestly don't know what to say to you. Another thing is that we have two sides, the downplayers of the feats to further their own narrative, or the wankers that try to scale Spider-Man to the highest extent of the people he fights. However, there's a clear delineation when he fights these upper ends of the Heralds, and when they actually are truly trying, he just loses. However, due to Marvel being as long as it is, we do have feats for these people when they're either at their holding back or most casual selves, such as the Hulk in his earliest and most casual self being able to destroy an asteroid twice the size of Earth, the Silver Surfer unironically having so many planetary feats he does as either a casual or holding back. I should be actively throwing them all on the screen as we speak. However, he even has casual star to even stellar feats, from tanking supernovas to increasing Unilord's attacks 1 million times over to destroy the entire solar system. Also, to put in perspective, around this golden era, it's implied that his normal peak for the Surfer was around galaxy level. As to just state, his full extent of his power is capable of obliterating a galaxy. So yeah, planet to solar system is quite consistent as a casual for him. And as for Firelord, he can casually destroy meteors the size of small planets, and at his highest he has power equivalent to small stars. Not to mention, the furthest point a bit more, not only can Spider-Man fight alongside Miss Marvel, but as well as fight and tank direct blows from Silver Dagger. Said blows that are staying in the same panel to be capable of shattering planets. You really have to think, is this power inconsistent for Spider-Man? Someone for, at least at this time, is able to rival the Human Torch to some extent, both being to hurt each other and so what. And the Human Torch at this point can casually destroy small moons and raises heat equal to that of a supernova, as this is referenced many times. Quickly, before I get to the calculation, please shout out to Scar. Most of the calcs you see on this channel is either done by him or his other companions, so please go support them in their servers. But anyway, due to Johnny's own BSA and supernovas producing 1 billion Kelvin, the energy he would need just to endure is energy equivalent to destroy large gas giants like Jupiter roughly 5 times over, and this is only for enduring 1 second, as he's able to keep this up for several minutes. With that being the case, he's able to endure attacks equivalent to a Dwarf Star's full power. I think a main reason why people don't subscribe to these levels of power for Spider-Man is due to how he essentially jumps from his rogues, who most don't even touch these levels, all the way up to these Heralds. But the main reason is due to him always holding back, to the point, as of recently it's explained, that he holds back so much he doesn't even realize he's doing it anymore. I think this was an amazing part on Marvel's end to actually further explain him holding back without the readers making illogical assumptions. However, that doesn't explain the few times he hits way out of his normal full power self. And this is fully explained in the Amazing Spider-Man The Ultimate Guide, that he has a stress factor, that in times of great stress he can gain power in uncharted territories. A more recent example of this is when he fought an evil amped version of the thing known as the Fear itself. He couldn't even hurt him. One punch from him left Spidey almost dead, but when he barely managed to pull through, he gained this new strength that actually allowed him to fight him on similar levels to said thing. Now, I know this sounds weird. How can some adrenaline make Spider-Man fight these cosmic level beings? But something you need to remember is where Spider-Man gets his powers from, that being the web of life and destiny. A fifth dimensional structure and power that links all of the universes of the multiverse together. Now, this is not to say that he scales to this in any way, but it gives reason why he's able to gain such grand power in such times of need. He's essentially one of many heralds of a multiversal entity. I really do think I explained at the very least why Spider-Man is one of the lower tiers of Marvel, but is a force to be reckoned with. And he should be at the very least a Herald level combative. And yes, while it wasn't the main focus, I do think I showed why crossverse he's an absolute monster. To wrap that section up, when he's holding back, he's easily in those mountain to island, if not country levels, due to some feats I did not mention. And when he's actually trying, he should be planetary at the very minimum, with star through solar system being very viable. Only when he taps into his higher power due to his stress factor, dare I say, he gets into those universal, if not cosmic ranges. Anyway, let me know if you guys like this one. I really think I put a lot of work into this, and if you want to see more comic related content, let me know. And that's all, y'all. Mr. Crafty, out.